It's better at night too.
Is it?
Night in a dark room, it gets very honey, very honey.
So, we meet again. Since January, I haven't talked to you a whole lot other than texting. And you really helped us with that episode 5 clarification of the lineage.
Oh, that's great. It's good to see you again.
Likewise.
This is awesome. Thank you.
You're very welcome.
Yeah.
And since you're an established, producer of this product now, what does it feel like?
It feels good. I was nervous how it would be received.
Yeah.
And we're coming up on a year. In September, it would have been on the market for a year. And so just having sold it and spoken about it and introduced it to so many people, and the very, very enthusiastic reaction. It's flowing as well as I thought it would flow. So the feedback's been awesome, and it's very encouraging. A lot of folks who like bourbon but may not like rye have really enjoyed Mersey, and that's the benefit of a double rye. It's a bridging flavor that helps people come across. So I had that idea, and to see it actually come through and to see the reaction and the traction is fantastic. So it gives you a lot of confidence and ready to have some more fun and do some other things and keep growing Mersey. So it's a very good feeling. Cool.
Do you still remember like your first campaign, whatever, the first time, however small a group it was? Do you remember your first pour for the strangers to this new? Was it in September? Because I know you hit ABC in September, right? Is that what it was?
That's what it was.
It was in an ABC. You poured it for them?
It was in an ABC. It was the first weekend of September. We did a tasting in 4 ABCs on the first weekend in September. And I got to do the Mountain Brook ABC, which is I think one of the better stores in Alabama. And I remember the first person I poured to bought a bottle. He just loved it. So, to have that as a reaction was awesome. And then I tell you, the third person, or the third or fourth person, 2 guys walked in wearing basketball jerseys.
Yeah.
And they were from Kentucky. And so they came in, and I this is Kentucky guys. So I thought, let's see what they think. So then I invited them over. I said, would you like to try some Alabama produced whiskey? And they said, sure, we're in Alabama. We'll give it a try. They tasted it, and they were like, they wanted to know all about it. They got into it. They both bought bottles.
Nice.
So I thought, if I can sell this to Kentucky folks, and they're willing to pick it up and try it and be really enthusiastic about it, that was great. So, it was a fantastic day. We really, really good reaction. It moved really well in all 4 locations. And so I came away with that feeling, just feeling really good and ready to go and get some more going.
Did they? Was it clear that you were the founder when you were there with that, or did they maybe not know your role? It
often comes out in conversation.
Oh yeah.
Within a minute or two, if somebody's really interested and really engaged and wants to know the story, before long you're talking about that it's my product and I designed it and brought it to market, and folks love that, which has been great. I remember at one tasting, I was talking to somebody in front of me, and there was a gentleman standing behind him in line to buy something else. And he heard me talking, and he heard me saying it was my product. It's just me. It's my own thing that I'm doing. So he reached over and grabbed 2 bottles and said, I just love helping out local, small starting businesses. So it's that reaction has been great. And I always hoped it would be that. The community... locally produced, good quality, being authentic, being transparent, has been great. It's a really good reception. So just loving it and enjoying it. Started in Birmingham, had a really successful October, November, December 22. And so because of that, I've been able to expand. So now,
you have?
Yeah. So I'm still in Alabama, but I'm covering Huntsville to Mobile. So all along the 65, in most of the ABC stores, it's carried now.
Okay.
Which is great. So just every month, pick up a few new stores. Some of them I ask to go into. Others are just picking it up by themselves, picking up a few package stores. And now what's catching fire a bit is restaurants and bars. So that is really starting to move along as more folks become aware of it and get introduced to it. and understand. It's a really good cocktail whiskey. It stands up very, very well. So a high-end bourbon bar, high-end whiskey bar, it's going to carry, and we've seen a couple of them do great around that. So that's picking up now too.
I bet it would make an amazing old-fashioned. It's so rare. Well, I have to come here for it. I won't dare use it for an old-fashioned in Florida because I'm not using it for that. My wife, I brought something back from here one time, and she's like, I want to use that. And I go, we only have one of those.
Well, the good news is that I hope as soon as the 1st of August, you'll be able to buy it online.
Oh, good.
So you'll be able to get it through the website to
cool.
42 or 43 states.
Oh,
so
good.
You can make old fashions in Manhattan.
Then I can just use it up.
Stuff. Yeah, totally.
Because remember we had that talk. I asked you, what's it like to have just this? I mean, you don't abuse it, you don't waste your product, but you kind of have an endless supply of this, and it's. And I was like, what, do you drink it all the time? I said, do you rinse your mouth with it after you brush your teeth? You have so much, like you can do whatever you want. And you're like, well, I have my decanter, the center of the bar, and you explore other spirits too. You have a very organized, clean, you know what you like bar.
I'm probably 50-50 between Mersey and other products. So this week we've been drinking some Kentucky Owl.
Oh yeah,
which is a nice. It's a nice.
Is it good?
Transgression from Mersey. Yeah. Oh,
I know
delicious.
It's pricey. It's so. I think it's allocated in a lot of places. It's tough for me to. It's pricey.
Yeah. It's.
Is it worth it? Is it?
I think so. It's really, really good. Depending on which one you pick up.
Yeah.
But yeah, I enjoy it.
Okay.
It's good.
Yeah, they had that behind the counter when I got at the ABC I went to. That.
Okay.
They had it was like it was a weird larger bottle. It wasn't your typical like 750. It was something in between. It was
like a 1 liter.
I don't know. It wasn't as big as like a large Weller. It didn't look that size, but it took and stood up a lot taller than the other bottle next to it. So I don't know what it was, way out of my range. But we've talked about this in episode 5, but I'm sure people would like to hear why did you pursue this creation of Mersey Craft Spirits? Because you knew it wasn't going to be easy. And you sort of, I remember you said, you kind of got some push, your final push, and I'll let them tell you. I want you to tell them like your final push that really did it, and it was family oriented, and that's what's cool. I want them to hear it from you.
Yeah, sure. So I grew up in a family business, an entrepreneurial family. That business was sold in the 1980s. My career was a corporate career. I was a finance person in large corporate roles and stuff. But I had the privilege to work for really, really smart people who knew how to create brands, grow brands, create product. And a lot of my experience was in distribution. So I understood the manufacturer, wholesaler, distributor, retail, consumer process and paradigm. So in 2017, I had an idea to start my own business, and I wasn't sure what it would be. And at the time, I was brewing beer, and I thought about trying a craft brewing. So I started researching the market, and it's a very busy market. It's hard to be sustainable and make it go over there. But I just happened to read one article about craft distilling. And it described how craft distilling was following the same trajectory, but it was about a decade behind craft brewing. And the craft brewing industry had opened people's ideas to buying independent. And the uniqueness that you get from small batch and the different flavors that you can get. So there's a very natural transition, I think, from somebody who enjoys craft beer to going, I want to try craft distilling. So that got me interested in. About the same time, the distilling conference was going on in Pittsburgh. So I was able to go there, and I spent a week at the conference just learning about the industry, talking to a lot of people in the industry, from distillers to distributors to packaging folks to marketing experts, and just the whole gamut. It was great. And I came back from that conference with some ideas. And I decided, there's always 40 reasons not to do something, but there's one reason to do something. So it's, I think I have experience. I think I have some ideas. Let's go for it. So I put the packaging together. I came up with the idea of the product. all from people who I'd met at the conference, and started to invest in it. I had the whiskey contract distilled for me. I had the packaging designed, and we did the initial prototypes of it all. And then whiskey's a long game, so I laid the whiskey down and waited. And I knew it'd be at least 2 years. I thought I'd bring to market a straight whiskey at least. In that time, though, I got distracted. Some other opportunities came along that I dived into more full time.
You had barrels laid down.
I had barrels laid down, and I've started. So laid the barrels down in early 2018.
Okay.
And then I started a full-time job doing something else. I got really busy. And then in 2021, I was having a conversation with my son because he wanted to quit his lacrosse team. And I was encouraging him to stay the course. And he challenged me. He said, look, you never launched your whiskey. And so it's hard for you to talk to me about quitting lacrosse when you kind of quit your whiskey.
Yeah.
So, fair deal. That is a great challenge, and you're a smart kid for thinking that. So, challenge accepted. You stay in lacrosse, and I will get this whiskey thing going. So I started to take it more seriously then. And about the same time, the folks who had distilled the whiskey where it was being aged tapped one of the barrels, did the first sample, and it was 3.5 years old at the time.
Was it the high? Was it the rye, the 95-5, the rye to barley, the really high rye one? Was that what they tasted first? Because that's your oldest one.
They tried both.
Oh, did they?
Yeah.
Okay.
In fact, the 51 rye 39 corn is the older.
Oh yeah. Oh, it is older.
And it had just clipped 4 years. And they contacted me and said, look, we've run some samples here. They're really, really good. We think you're at a good time to go. So it was really, really good timing. So they sent down a couple of large samples of each of the mash bills. And then we spent some time coming up with what I thought was the right blend at the right proof. Held a few tasting parties for many, many different people of different palates to try it. And that's how we came up with Recipe No.6. It was the 6th combination out of about 15 or 16 that we had. So different combinations of the mash bills and different proof levels.
And so the 2/3 of the 95-5 and the 1/3 of the 51-39-10, that's just, how many of these thirds? Did you try?
Tried 50-50.
You tried 50-50?
I tried to flip it the other way. So 2/3 51 rye, 1/3 95 rye. We tried just straight 95-5. We tried 60-40. And then proof levels 88, 90, 91, 94. So just tried a whole different cycles of samples and see what's at.
And this was the winner.
This is the one.
The consensus type.
The consensus actually for an 88, but I thought it was too low of proof. The flavor was just suppressed in it, and so when I looked at who enjoyed the 88, I felt that the folks who would enjoy whiskey more on the shelf, who are prepared to pay a premium price for high-end whiskey, they're probably folks who enjoy whiskey in the 90s. So that's why I went for 91 at the end of the day.
The terroir and the people and the place that you wanted this to embody come before the Recipe 6, or did you had said like, well, I know what 6 needs to be. I know what 6 ends up being, kind of what you felt the terroir of adventure. And is that how this, what kind of the chicken before the egg, like what?
So when we were putting 6 together, we went up to the distillery in North Carolina and met the folks, sampled some of the product on site, spent some more time with the master distiller up there, just talking about what's happening, what's going on, what's their read of product, what's their read of the market, get their input in how they think we should produce the whiskey now that it's of age. And it's a really nice distillery. It's a really nice setup. So
yeah, it's grain to glass.
It's an old family farm. So for me, that connects to somebody who grew up in a family business.
Yep.
It's old family farm. Pete took a risk as well. They had an idea of something he wanted to do, invested a lot in it, and went all in. And he just invested in excellent product. His equipment is phenomenal, so really, really high end. His idea is what terroir is, but he's not somebody who'll say terroir. He is all about the land. He's all about local. He's all about high quality above anything else. He's all about, I think, doing it slowly, but right. And so we came away from that trip. We had learned a lot. I think we had a better understanding of them. And we were putting some of the marketing together and found terroir along the way, the name, which really originates in the wine industry. But it connected just at the time so much with what we had just learned and what we had just explored that we thought it was just a great connection, really, really relevant. And I think in the whiskey business, it's really applicable. A product ages in a different way in a different place. Whiskey tastes differently depending on what grains it's made with. It's different depending on what wood it's aged in or what char the barrel is. If the distillers do different things, it's going to come out differently. So that's people, places, ingredients, weather. All just have an influence, and some of them are subtle influences, but some of them are major influences too. So I think it's a great word to describe it organically, and just ultimately it's all impacted by the environment around us, the nature around us, which is great. And that connects to how I would like people to embrace Mersey, which is outdoors, adventuring,
right?
Doing wonderful things,
exploring,
with family or friends or solo. I think it really plays into that. So I'm proud that the way it's distilled, I hope, is the way that it's enjoyed at the end of the day. There's a good, solid connection there.
Okay. Yeah, that clears up the terroir. I almost initially I was feeling like the terroir was the whiskey. I wondered if Recipe 6 attracted a certain environment and people that you felt were adventurous and outdoorsy. Like, that's what I initially thought. Like, I picked, because it is exciting. The first time I sampled it, I think I jumped off the ground because it was so, you had that initial kick and then it rewards you because you can really tell that double, and it was exciting. Yeah. And that just, gets you going. And it's not boring. It's not, subtle. It's got so many different levels to it.
It does. Look, I think it's finding its way. Nothing is ever as you plan, I think. And so as I get the privilege of introducing it to a lot of different people, I'm finding that most are accepting, whether you're an outdoor adventurer or not. It's really, really good quality juice, and folks love the flavor of it. So that's been widely embraced. But I do think it's important that it has an identity, and as the product grows, it's important that identity is meaningful. And I think a terroir connects with the adventurer, or to be honest, the aspiring adventurer, somebody who likes the idea of it.
Right.
And we'll continue working the identity and working the marketing and working the events around that. So very community focused. I'm trying to support as much of the community as I can, and very in all those outdoorsy type of events, adventure and exploring is all
very cool.
All important things.
Do you think that doing the double rye, you think you solved maybe a opening in the spirits industry? This, because not many people want to tackle this double rye concept. Do you think there was something you needed to solve? Is that? Yeah. Did you see that?
So I think you're on the right track. I think I wasn't trying to solve something, but what I had observed was that a double rye is a very inviting rye. Okay. A rye is the fastest growing segment of the whiskey market overall.
Is it?
But it's still relatively small compared to bourbon. And there are some folks who just love 95.5 rye for its spiciness and its harshness. But equally so, there's a lot of people who don't like it. And so
a beginner is tough for a beginner to.
Yeah.
It really is a turnoff. It can be a turnoff. Yeah. So I think you've accomplished something though with.
So you have that opportunity, to create a more complex flavor profile, but the spiciness holds up. When you complement that with a bit of sweet from the corn, and you're onto something. Now I'm not the first to do it. Other folks have done great stuff with Double Rye. It's a concept that I wanted to plug into and see if I could have some success there.
What is the story of Mersey? How did this come about?
So the Mersey is named after a ship, and the ship existed in the 1800s called the Queen of the Mersey. And she sailed out of Liverpool, England, taking mostly English immigrants who were going to the British colonies in the southern hemisphere, South Africa, Australia, New Zealand. And my great-great-grandparents emigrated at the same time as the Mersey was sailing. And we believe they sailed on the Mersey from Edinburgh to New Zealand back in the late 1800s. So the image of the boat on the label is the image of the Mersey that I found. And so I've tried to incorporate that voyage and the idea of exploration and courage and new ideas, new lands into the bottle, into the brand. And that I think it connects with what we're trying to do. So the bottle is a nautical theme, and it's been, I think, really well incorporated in. So you have a square bottle. On ships, bottles were square, so you could stack them next to each other. It has a heavy base, that it's less likely to move around in rough weather. And then it has the short neck, so that if it falls over, it's less likely to break.
Okay.
Honestly, it's easier to pour, handles really well, looks great, I think. And then the label is takes after an old ship's boarding pass. So it's parchment paper, similar rectangular style. The font is chosen from the late 1800s, what the typeset would have been. Even the wording plays into some of that as well. So it's a great homage to the journey and the voyage and everything of the late 1800s that way.
Totally agree. Yeah, you incorporated that on every aspect of it. And when we were studying the bottle before episode 5, there's so many nuances to it. There's little things that you catch on to later you didn't notice initially. And even my partner, I was saying, this is a ticket. The front was this boarding ticket. He's like, oh my God, everything was there.
Yeah.
No,
it's great. I had the help of some great designers putting it together. Sat in a forum much similar to this, spoke about ideas, spoke about concepts, and they helped me, create something here, which I think is awesome. And again, authentic. It plays to something core to me and my family.
Absolutely.
And, I'm very excited to be able to incorporate that all in the packaging.
Yeah, when we looked into, there's actually the bill, the guest list or laden, whatever the list is, that first voyage of Mersey, which the crew mutinized against the captain, and he almost died.
That's right.
Then I looked so I saw the names of the first one. That was online, but I couldn't get the second trip.
Yeah.
I couldn't find the second trip because I was looking for your family.
Yep.
And it's just not out there. But the details of that second trip are there because your great grandparents were on the voyage where it started taking on water, right? And it shifted to the side, and they thought they were basically going to just drown out there.
Yeah, it was. I think those days was very scary. Voyages. There was so much that could go wrong. It took an awfully long time.
It was a wind-only vessel.
Mm-hmm.
Wind only. That blows people's minds too. Imagine going all the way from Scotland to New Zealand by wind.
That's right.
Waiting for things and.
Yeah, these if we take a 16-hour plane flight, it feels long, but now we have a reference point that it used to take 3 months to get there, so that's a different scale.
Which is shocking to even think that now your great grandfather, right? He decided to move to South Africa, right?
That's right.
So he leaves. He wants adventure. He's going to leave New Zealand.
Mm-hmm.
Did they not tell him how terrible it was, and they didn't almost make it there themselves? I mean, he still's like, I don't care. I'm trying myself.
I think he he just wanted some new land, and he had that spirit, just a determined spirit.
They had to tell him the nightmare of getting where they were. Yeah, they had to have told him.
He was, I think he was 16 or 17 when he went over. So that's a very headstrong age.
Yeah,
you have an idea. You can, and perhaps the more dangerous it was, the better. Who knows? But he did, and he just went in search of new land. He didn't have a trade. On the voyage, on the way over, somebody in the crew recommended to him that he become a blacksmith. I think that was the equivalent of being a software engineer today.
Right.
It was booming. Transportation was booming. It was a good trade to be in. So when he landed in South Africa, he became an apprentice blacksmith in Durban, and then did that for a while. And then once he was a qualified blacksmith, he moved inland and started his own blacksmithery, which he called F.A. Poole, and that became a business that I grew up in. A transition to making ox wagons, and then a transition to making truck bodies, and then got sold in the 1980s when there was a big industry consolidation, and so I named my company F.A. Poole because I wanted to bring it back to life and bring that spirit back into our family.
The truck bodies, were they hired to? Because I searched on Google Images, I wanted to see one of these trucks. Did they rebrand for other people? Were they kind of hired to do the truck bodies for others, and they're not under the F.A. Poole truck body thing?
Yeah, you would buy like a Mack horse or a Mercedes horse truck, and then F.A. Poole would custom build the body for you.
Because I couldn't find a single picture of one of the truck bodies.
It's hard to find them, but there are a couple out there. So what they made the most of was garbage trucks.
Really? Yeah. Over there?
Yeah. And then a lot of flatbed trucks, a lot of tip trucks, a lot of water carriers as well. But the garbage trucks that drove around the suburbs would have the F.A. Poole name emblazoned on the back of the truck.
Yeah, I could not find a picture. Now you have Recipe 6. It's exciting. The terroir is there with adventure, exploration. Are we going to continue down that route of when you choose the next combination, the next recipe? Was it possible you were maybe going to do a gin? Was that what you were discussing maybe?
Yeah, I do enjoy gin.
Yeah, so do I, yeah.
I have a great recipe for an American style gin.
Okay.
That's citrus forward.
Oh, yeah.
Quite like that. I'm not sure what the right time will be to bring that out, but that's certainly in my mind. I think what comes next for Mersey is that the first batch that I laid down in 2018 will be 6 years old in January, and so I think the next batch here I'll keep Recipe No.6, the blend, the 2/3 95, 1/3 51. But it'll come out at 6 years old, and I think I'll up the proof, and I'm going to test out barrel strength, or somewhere around 101, 102, and just try that out. So I think that'll be the next expression that'll hit the market in January. I'm also working on a single malt, so that'll be a sourced single malt, but finished in port barrels. So I quite like that idea, keeping the nautical theme going. With the port, the old fortified wine. I think that American single malts are gaining in popularity. That market's growing pretty well.
It is hot, yeah.
I think a good American single malt finished in a port barrel is going to come out really, really well. So we're working on that for release in the new year as well.
Is that going to, you think... you're going to do like everything? Do you think it'll be a total malted or a part malted, do you think? Or you think you don't know yet? Or
no, it'll be a full malt.
Full malt.
Yeah.
Because I've been listening to some people do like a part malt and, just some straight barley to have this sort of, aspect to it, and then part malted.
Okay. No, I haven't really experimented with that.
Full malt.
Yeah, I'm enjoying the full malt.
Yeah.
And I think a Madeira port is going to give it a little bit of a sweet.
Nice.
I'm finding now with rye, you bring a little bit of sweet into rye, and it tastes great. I think if you do the same with malt, with single malt, and you bring a little bit of sweet, a little bit of a tannin in there from the Madeira port, I think it's going to produce a great flavor profile.
I haven't had this in a while.
Okay.
Because
You can't get it.
I have to ration it at home. Very, you don't waste it.
Yeah.
Well, no wasting it.
We'll hopefully solve that
yes.
soon. Yeah.
Well, cheers.
It's good to see you again.
Likewise. Thank you very much for your time.
You're welcome. I appreciate it. Yeah, so it's going to be a little bit darker at night. You can get some good honey, especially in this light.
What do you pick up?
So I'm getting the wood. The wood is hitting me first.
Okay.
But I'm getting the oak.
You're getting oak?
Is coming through strong for me. And then when I flip over to the other side, I'm starting to pull a bit of the sweet. The sweet fruits coming through. A little bit of. I get black currant.
Yeah. What spice do you feel? What spice do you pick up on that? Because the spice is what hits me first, and I mean it's coming right through my nose.
Yeah.
So this is 91.
This is 91 proof.
91.
Yeah.
But now that you say the oak, okay, I can sense that. Yeah, I can sense that.
It's probably it might just be where I started. Yeah, what spice do you get when you?
I hope it's not too simple just to say it's almost like a cinnamon. Am I dumbing it down too much? I mean,
I think cinnamon is like on
right?
point. Yeah. Every now and then I think I get like a little bit of a cardamom kind of flavor, cardamom smell coming through.
I need to get one of those kits.
Yeah,
to start locking in the different notes. I heard of one I need to get, so I can't confirm your.
That just comes from making gin. Cardamom is.
Is it?
Is all over gin, so that's just how I happen to have that sense dialed in.
You can smell the maturity though.
Yeah.
It just is more. It's honest about how mature it is.
I'm excited when the 6-year expression comes out because I think we'll get even more coming through.
Different label to be obvious that it's a 6? Yeah?
I think I'll put 6 years right on the label.
That front spice.
Yeah, it's always leads with the spice, which is great.
And then here comes I call it the reward and the back end. I really feel like it's separated.
Yep.
They're there together. They've been mingling together forever, but it's still your palate knows how to. We all have different, more sensitive sections of our palate, our mouths, right? For me, that spice hits, and then it dissipates, and it lets me. The reward, the sugar, the corn's probably been waiting for you the whole time. It's just waiting for the spice to kind of. Are you out of here yet? Right?
Yeah, so I think the front of the tongue got the spice receptors to it.
Is that what it is?
And then the back of the tongue will have the sweeter receptors to it. So that's the way we start with the spice because that's very prominent in the esters.
Okay.
And then as it settles, you're going to bring the sweet out on the back. The honey is going to come. The honeysuckle is going to come. I always get some black currant coming out there. Caramel is there. That's I really enjoy the Double Rye. It's a more complex flavor. There's so much more out there coming through, which is great.
That was genius. I'm glad you put the work in for these, not just tossed a 50-50 and called it a day.
Yeah. It was hard to choose the final recipe because there were a couple of options that we could have gone with. So, in doing it the first time, I really wasn't sure. Yeah. If it was the right choice, but I think we got some great input and made a good choice at the end of the day.
Like if it was me and I wouldn't overpower the majority, but I almost wonder if I would do like a 3/4 of the 5139 and then just a 1/4 of the 95.5.
Yeah. What you're going to get then is a flavor that's similar to a high rye bourbon.
Oh.
And so I think that
you're wasting your time.
The sweet will become overpowering, and you'll start to lose the uniqueness of rye is the spice.
Right.
And also when you start to put it in a cocktail, what I enjoy is that the spice leads. It really powers through.
Absolutely.
A sweet bourbon in a cocktail, you can lose the flavor.
Yeah.
All you get is the sweet out at the end of the day. Whereas this, I think it powers through. I think it stands up in Manhattans and certainly in old fashions. It comes through really well.
Yeah, I've got to try this in an old fashioned. It stays on the palate for a while. Mm-hmm. The finish is...
It does sit there, yeah. I find it comes into my cheeks. It comes off the back of my tongue and then rolls up in my cheeks, and it just kind of flavor rolls there for a little while.
And it leaves just a little bit, but it lets you know that, you could add another sip. Mm-hmm. Bring it all back.
Yeah. Somebody told me recently that they got marzipan. So marzipan is kind of a sweet confectionery flavor, which was interesting. It's kind of the vanilla caramel area. I'd never thought it until he mentioned it, and then I sat back and I was like, yeah, I think I can see that ester there where it's coming through from.
Isn't that, if I'm correct, isn't that like a creme brulee?
Yeah.
Once it's crystallized, when you do the surface, is that the marzipan that you get out of that? I don't know if I was listening to something properly about that, but
I'm not sure. It could be. It could be the marzipan. I know is was what you would use in the actual creation of whatever baked good you're making. It's the hard, the sides, the harder part over there.
Putting a bigger sample in your mouth and actually, like you said, shoving it to the cheeks, though, that brings another whole aspect to it.
Good stuff. Yeah. So you get some like dried fruit coming through, like a dried apricot type taste coming through there.
You don't get any pepper, do you?
I don't get pepper. I've heard it called out.
Have you?
But I myself I don't get.
No, I'm not picking up the pepper. I'm not picking up any leather.
Maybe the leather can come right at the end, like
you think that
good
could be
minute after, come on back up on the front of the tongue.
That's what it could be. Okay. Now, do you see, is the gin or the next spirit, is there going to be a repositioning? It's always going to be F.A. Poole, Mersey Craft Spirits, sort of same terroir, or do you see a new brand positioning for another audience or something with the gin, or is it going to be the same group of folks? What are you thinking?
I think gin is influenced less by terroir than whiskey is. It's going to come from where the spices come from and the herbs come from.
Yeah.
In terms of positioning, the sanity says stay with the name Mersey. Let everybody get to know it and understand what it is and what it stands for. But I always had the idea to name the gin after the farm that my mother grew up on, which was called Ladiesdale. I think it's a wonderful name. It has great memories for me and my family. It plays over to my mom's side of the family.
I like it.
Which could be great. And
yes.
I think it's a great name for a gin.
Yeah, it's very cool.
But it's a second brand, and second brands are tricky.
It's still under F.A. Poole, so...
Yep, it could be.
As long as it's that solidified.
Yep. I think if I did it, it would be truly craft. It would be very, very small batch.
Okay.
And just play in the market where I could sell it myself and introduce people to it myself and let it go from there. One other idea I've had for a long time is agave spirit, and actually to do reposados aged in the rye barrels. It just keeps the connection to the rye. I think it would bring a bit of spice to the agave. I think it could go quite well.
Have you sampled anything like that before?
No, I haven't. It's been hard to get hold of agave for the last 4 years. But it seems like there is some availability now. So that might be one of the other projects. I actually have the labeling, the packaging ready to go, because when I put this packaging together first, that was on my mind. So it's there in the folders. Ready to pull out, so that might be on the cards for 2024.
Yeah, you do those two things. I mean, your brand position, you just expanded it, and you grabbed a whole other group and another group and another group, and that group can bring you back to the Double Rye, or it can push you over to the gin. I mean,
yeah.
Once they're a fan of F.A. Poole and they know, the passion behind it and the quality levels. they're going to like all you have.
That would be the thing, keep it consistent. Same philosophy in all of them would be great.
You can pull it off. I know you can do it.
Would be good.
What did you drink first? What was your, if you go back, what really got you into spirits? I mean, what was your first? Was it gin?
So gin was probably where I tore the ring out of it first, where I pulled the pin out of the hand grenade.
Okay, so gin.
Single malts for sure. So bourbon wasn't a big thing in South Africa where I grew up. It was more of a single malt or Scotch. Yeah, a bit of Irish whiskey as well.
Okay.
That was probably it. It was a bit of Jack Daniels around.
But that was probably exotic. Was it that exotic there?
It was pretty. That's right. Yeah. So yeah, gin. I think gin and single malts is where it was.
And that was local brands. This gin you had, you were able to drink a local gin?
No, it was imported.
All of it's imported.
Yeah, it was London Dry, Beefeater gin was the big one.
The staples.
And then all the whiskeys were Scottish or Irish coming in.
Were you on the rocks with these gins, or were you making throwing some lime in there or a tonic, or what was your go-to?
Gin and tonic is that's like the quintessential African safari cocktail.
Oh.
So we grew up drinking gin and tonics at sunset. That's delicious. So you know the story about tonic. Tonic has quinine in it. That's the bitter flavor, and that's the anti-mosquito, anti-malaria drug. So go back to the British. They needed to drink quinine every day.
Oh, really?
To stay prophylactic against the mosquitoes and against malaria. So they sort of throw some gin in there and a lemon, because that's what we have available. And that became the good kind of African sunset cocktail to drink.
Kept the bugs off, and you enjoyed your evening.
That's right. It was that, and then brandy and Coke was the other one.
Oh, really?
So that would have been locally made brandy, because a big wine industry in South Africa, and so there was a lot of local brandy. So brandy and Coke was
brandy and Coke. Was that super sweet though? That was.
Yeah.
That was nuts, right?
You weren't drinking it for flavor, though.
No. Oh, okay. Super strong brandy.
Yeah. Good. It held up pretty well.
Okay.
And then I really started to enjoy single malts when I was living in the UK. I was working in Scotland a fair amount. I was up there at least once a month for 3 years with some big whiskey enthusiasts, and they introduced me to a lot of different flavors, heavily peated, mildly peated, no peat, and just talking to them and enjoying the experience with them and learning along the way. Gave me a new appreciation, new understanding for whiskey and all the differences. So I think that got my mind ticking and really slanted towards whiskey and the brown spirits.
Yeah, that's a phenomenal. That's a serious art to that malting process and that drying process, and
yeah.
I mean, I'm not saying bourbon's easy, but that seems pretty complex. I know there's a lot of work.
It's complex. It's harsh environments.
Yeah.
That's not certainly in the historic times. It wasn't made with the level of equipment that you make bourbon with. I feel like it's a more agricultural product at the end of the day. But the flavor profiles are way more varied. If you just think the difference between an Irish whiskey and a Scotch whiskey, it's so different. And then within Scotch whiskeys, you can have a really, really wide variety as well, all depending on which distillery, on which part of a small country made it, which is great. So that just goes back into terroir. It's so influenced by where it came from, what the weather was like then, where the grains were sourced, who was making it. You can have a product that's made in the same way, just tastes so different, which is great.
Well, I think you'll be fine with this other gin title.
With the Ladies Dale?
Yeah.
Great.
It's the title's even the terroir.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's just going to totally embrace the concept of that.
Yeah, well, thank you. That's great feedback. That's awesome. It gives me more confidence to go ahead.
Yeah, totally support that.
Good deal.
Well, I really thank you for your time. I know you got a lot going on, and I appreciate you. And if I ever meet your son, I'm going to thank him for or we wouldn't be having this.
Thanks.
So
cheers. Good to see you again.
Likewise.
Good times.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, cheers.
Cheers.